And so we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia and Sonicea hosting another edition of the Hour of Politics. I am excited about this one. Welcome and welcome. And we can't ask you enough to do us that favor. Share it with somebody. Tiawon Gongloe is the name. He just landed his party nomination to go and capture the executive mansion. He has been talking, and it seems to be he's getting tougher by the day. Well, we will find out whether Tiawon is ready for prime time. In his recent interview, he places the blame squarely at Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's feet 90% of the time for covering political and economic woes that we are experiencing in our country. Didn't he serve in Ellen's administration? And he's talking this way. Does he have an argument? Well, we will find out. Seated and ready is a young progressive, Darlington Collins, who supports Tiawon Gongloe. It's good to have you. Welcome, Darlington.
Well, Brother Anthony here, it's always good and a pleasure to be on your platform, focus on Liberia and to speak to our people. I think it's always an opportunity because when we speak to the people, we have an opportunity to learn from them, to have a sense of reflection on what the real narrative is. It is through listening to the people that you get to understand what their real issues are as you provide an alternative solution for them.
Thank you. And it's good to always have you here at Focus on Liberia. A gentleman who is also not a stranger here is Gibson Ijuru. Now he wears another bigger hat this time around. He is the chair for Gongloe Strategic Media Committee. Mr. Ijuru, it's good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I'm so happy to be here again to discuss anything that has to do with the quest by Councillor Gongloe to become the project manager of Liberia. He doesn't consider himself as president. When he wins, he considers himself as the project manager who will reorder the menu that will drive Liberia to a better Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's good to have you and folks joining us in cyberspace, be it via Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or our Twitter. Welcome and welcome. And let us get started here. The topic for today's discussion is Tiawon placing 90% of current Governor Woes on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And Tiawon is talking, and he said, Madam Sirleaf should bear about 90% responsibility for the current poor state of Liberia economically and politically. He will not stop. He said, Ellen prioritized her personal interest over the interests and well-being of Liberia and its citizenry. He went on to say she endorsed and paved the way for President Weah to excel to the presidency at a time he was inexperienced and ill-prepared. He won't stop. Madam Sirleaf's action is the source of the multiple vices and ill-advised action that are presently strangulating the growth and development of the nation and its citizens. Tiawon continues, she covertly supported then George Manawia and Joel Howard Taylor as president and vice president, respectively. And finally, Madam Sirleaf did not take into consideration the interests of Liberia and the masses, but she prioritized her personal interests and supported Kennedy Weah. And so Tiawon is saying, all the cries that you hear, all the troubles we have in our hands, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf bears 90% of that. I'm finding it difficult to agree with Tiawon's argument. I have 2% here. I want to believe might have agreed, maybe 90% or 100%, or in part, or in whole. They are here. Let us get started. Let me start with the man who wears the Gongloe's hat, officially. My first question, you listen to Tiawon's argument there. Do you agree with him in part or in whole? Where do you stand, first of all?
I agree with him in whole.
And why?
Okay. First of all, Councillor Gongloe diplomatically described the situation and said Madam Sirleaf covertly supported President Weah's bid for the presidency. Well, he is being diplomatic, but Madam Sirleaf did not just covertly do it, she overtly did it as well. But there were warning signs. There were a lot of warning signs. I remember in the Modern Ghana reported on Ellen Johnson's support of George Weah. Long time ago, he said President George Weah walks in the shadow of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, placing old wine in new bottle. And this was the report when New Ghana told Liberians that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was supporting George Weah. We didn't take it seriously. But Ellen herself made it very, very clear. If you remember, during the 2010 Vision conference in Banga, Bon County, Ellen told told the audience that George Weah was prepared 90% to become president of Liberia. That was the first time she overtly made a statement that George Weah was prepared to be president. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not stop there. Before the runner-up election on December, let me make sure here. Let me give you the right date for it here. In December, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that was September 27, December 21, 2017. The Front Page newspaper reported that Madam Sirleaf took George Weah to launch and break ground for the Menekoma Highway that leads to Lofa County. That groundbreaking took place at the intersection of the road leading to the Banga City and going to Lofa. Now, tell me, in a runner-up election where the vice president who comes from Lofa County is vying for presidency, and it's not just vying for presidency, but he is a citizen of Lofa County. The president of the Republic of Liberia, the sitting president of the Republic of Liberia, is inviting dignitaries to launch or break ground for the road that leads to the county where the vice president comes from. And what does the president do? The president invites the opposition leader who is challenging her sitting vice president for the presidency of the country and say, come, let's go and break ground of the road that leads to Vice President Joseph Boakai's town. Now, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf controls a narrative that many thousands of Liberians believe. She has thousands of followers. If this president can raise her voice and say in 2010 Vision 2010, if she can raise the voice and say George Weah was prepared to be president, and in 2017, if she can raise George Weah to the level of launching a major road project that Joseph Boakai is supposed to use as a campaign tool and invite George Weah to break ground for it, how in the world will we not believe that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the one who propelled George Weah to the presidency? But not only that, the Modern Ghana wrote in January of 2021 and 2017 and said, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf printed more, is going to print more money. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is going to print more money to support George Weah presidency, to buy election paraphernalia, etc. So the Modern Ghana newspaper reported that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was going to print more money to help George Weah campaign. And we saw George Weah getting election materials that he could not pay for because George Weah was broke by the time he became senator. He could not afford to buy the trucks, the pickups that he was using during the election. And everyone knew in Liberia that Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not want her vice president to become president of Liberia. Rather, she wanted an opposition politician who wanted to be president of Liberia.
Thank you. Let us come to Darlington Collins. I want to get you guys take first before I can push back here. Do you agree with Councillor Gongloe's argument here that Ellen bears 90% responsibility of what we are experiencing in our country today under we as leadership?
You see, Brother Anthony, I partially agree with Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. You see, in African politics, certain presidential candidates supporting their opposition figure is not so unique to Liberia. So for Councillor Gongloe to insinuate or to indicate to the Liberian people that, Madame basically had the masses on auto, pilot or auto, where you mean automatic, where she control the narrative at 90% to usher in Mr. Weah presidency, I beg to differ. I would say Madame probably most likely contributed 50%. The remaining 50% is up to the Liberian masses, the intellectual class, the political people. You see, every democratic election, Anthony, you as a citizen, as a citizen of the republic, we all have a fundamental responsibility in exercising our constitutional responsibility. If we stay on the sidelines, we bear the consequences thereof. And that is why in these upcoming elections, if you follow my past political track record, I've always supported the progressive class. If I'm not supporting candidates from the LPP, I will always support candidates from the NDC. So to be clear here, we see here in Africa, especially like a recent case in Kenya, the current president of the outgoing president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, never supported, the current president of Kenya. Political people have power-seeking behavior. They will protect their interests at any means necessary. Madam Sirleaf, you follow the narrative. At some point in time, she was just doing business with anybody. She tried to talk Councillor Bromsky into, not going after her people or opening her skeleton in the words of Councillor Gongloe, not even to delve into her closet. She went to the Liberty Party to her Nigerian, friends when the Liberty Party people started to parade with pickups. So Madame was only basically looking for a signal of hope or protection for anybody who would say to her, I am going to protect you. That she didn't find in her former vice president, at the time, Omen Joe Bueka. So the Liberian people, Anthony, it's anybody who followed the geopolitical landscape since 2005 will realize that the dying urge of the Liberian people to usher in a Weah presidency could have been unstoppable. Yes, Mr. Weah needed logistics to be president. We all heard about how, Madame, with the help of certain forces, managed to quote unquote usher in some ballot papers for Mr. Weah. But Madame was seeking her interest. And even the vice president contributed to this, Joe Bueka. You see, I have problem with political people being passive. And that is why in my politics, I don't stay on the sideline. They asked Vice President Bueka, Madam President is not supporting you. The Vice President was very lean and taking his time. It's politics here. Nobody have time for you to go and think about. You must be decisive. Your country image is at stake. You are about to usher in the next generation of leaders. So Councillor Gongloe is right, but I would say 90%, that is too much blame game for Madam Sirleaf. Except we want to believe that this country cannot progress insofar as Madam Sirleaf is alive. Madam Sirleaf, yes, she contributed 50%, but the Liberian people, they so desire to usher in Mr. Weah presidency was unstoppable. And our people needed to experience the Weah era. Now that they have experienced the Weah era, that is why we are providing to them an alternative voice. Amen. I'm not one of the Gongloe fanatics. I follow Councillor Gongloe from his days in government. Even up to now, he has proven a man to be a man of impeccable character, good moral standing. A man who, if we land in the Liberian presidency, who will not just award people government job, not because he know you, but it will be awarded on the basis of merit.
Thank you.
Gongloe, to an extent, yes, he's right, but the Liberian people needed to usher in. And it is a learning experience for the masses. Now that they know what a Weah presidency is, we are providing them an alternative from the LPP. To say we have a brother in this process, the choice is yours. to either go by what is assumed to be popular or to go for integrity or people who want to change the course of history.
Thank you. And Mr. Jiro, let me bring you back in here. And I think there's a disagreement here. There's a disagreement here, and I think I love that for this disco. To pour 90% blame on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, I myself disagree 100%. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, though is not an ordinary citizen. She has followers who believe in her, but we are in a space where majority decide. So, for the sake of the discussion, let me use Grangela because you are a prominent son of Grangela, and you know our history. You know Ellen's role. Are you trying to tell me the people of Grangela were convinced by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? Wasn't the very Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was condemned as corrupt, and her government as well? Didn't Liberian people need change at the time? And so was Ellen the one to direct them where to go? And so to say that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was 90% responsible, out of for the election or for all the things we're going through today, I don't see Councillor Gongloe's argument. She's a citizen. She supported WIA openly, right? And that's what any citizens would do. But majority of the people have to decide at the end of the day. Now, if you look at it, George Weah came second to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf twice. They went to the runoff, 2005 and 2011. So it's obvious that George Weah was in line. A similar thing, Joseph Walker is thinking, well, because I went second to George Weah, it got to be me. And our politics is that our people are like, okay, it's this person time. So George Weah would have won anyway without Ellen's help. So to blame Ellen, I think it's completely far from the truth. Your take?
My take, thank you. First of all, numbers to me are inconsequential on this debate. Okay. But I tend to agree with Councillor Gongloe a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Here is why I agree with Councillor Gongloe. Mm-hmm. Ellen, when Grangidians voted for George Weah, they voted on the basis of sentiments. Mm-hmm. They said he's Samuel Doe's son when he's not Samuel Doe's son. They said he loved Grangida when he hated Grangida. So they voted on the basis of sentiment. There was no critical political evaluation of George Weah to merit their votes. And until now, we are telling Grangidians that they should not repeat the same mistake they did 3 times in a row. So Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, from the very elite, knowledgeable, and analytical class to determine whether George Weah was in the capacity, has the capacity to run a nation that she has been running for 12 years. She knew the problems confronting the country. She knew the political dynamics. She knew the political diversity that was involved. She knew the problems and the possible solution that she could have proffered. And she knew whether George Weah had the capacity to run this country. And she knew very well George Weah did not have the capacity. But what Ellen wanted to do was to project herself as a hero. Well, if I put George Weah, if I support George Weah and George Weah becomes president, then I will be vindicated as the best leader during our contemporary time, because he will definitely blunder and we will be champions. We will be the heroes. That was the mindset. That was it. She did not select and support George Weah because she believed that George Weah was the best person, the best mind, the most critical leader that we needed at the time. She wanted it for herself. That's why Councillor Gongloe made it clear. I like the way he speaks all the time. He said she did it for her self-interest. She sacrificed the interest of the country and the people for her self-interest. Ellen wanted to project herself as the winner, as the hero, because she knew that George Weah would have done these things today. She knew that George Weah government will be corrupt to the point that the U.S. government will sanction 3 officials from that government, 3 important officials, including the men who George Weah and eat together and probably sleep together and do everything together. Okay? So she knew that. She knew that George Weah would have blundered. She knew that she would have been a hero. So that's why Councillor Gongloe said, when you are a president, having a large following, beating George Weah 2 times in an election, and controlling the heartbeat of the Unity Party, and you come on the radio and in a forum and say George Weah is, and you didn't want to do that after the first round of election, where your city vice president, who even comes from Lofa, and you are going to launch a major road project that leads to the vice president home, even if you don't support the vice president, you did not invite the vice president to go with you, even if you did not take the shovel to do the launching or to do the groundbreaking. But you invited the man who in 2010 told Liberians that he was 90% prepared. And you gave him the shovel to launch a road, to break ground for a road that leads to the current adversary, current political adversary, who happened to be your vice president.
Mr. Jiro, Gongloe is saying Ellen prioritized her personal interest over the interest and well-being of Liberia and its citizenry. Now, in Liberia, we always say politics is interest. And Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as a political actor at the time, she needed to seek her interest. Just as you are supporting Gongloe, your interest might be Liberia, but it is interest. Maybe in her calculation, her interest was that, okay, the young people have been yearning for so long, and I think it would make sense to bring a young person to power so that they can feel some sense of ownership of this nation. And maybe that was her interest. It could have been the national interest you were looking at the time. And Tiawon Gongloe is holding Ellen responsible, for Ellen doing what any citizens would do. And the question I want to ask is, how does Ellen action in any way direct our action and e-action in today's Liberia? It said that is telling, it is Ellen that is telling that, the LACC changed the act. Instead of the act naming and shaming corrupt officials, it should be done in secrecy. I don't think Ellen is telling to do that. I'm not sure it was Ellen who told Samuel 12 or any other person, take the 25 million, do a map out. There shouldn't be no account. I don't think Ellen did that. These are decisions that were made by the administration. How is Ellen responsible? It's like you recommended me and say, hey, my Peking Anthony there can do a better job. If I fail, should that person hold you responsible for my failure?
No, it's in two ways. It's in two ways. Let's do it like this.
Okay.
When I was news editor for the Analyst, I had a reporter in my newsroom who wasn't a good writer. He wasn't a very good writer. And what I told him, I said, okay, say you cannot write well, all you do, go record it and take notes and come and sit with me, and I will write the story for you. And that's what I do. And he played the tape, I write the story. He would give me the notes, go through it, I write the story, put his name, and he will carry the banner headline. Every time, the man headline. So this guy was about to establish a newspaper, and he thought this guy was a very great writer because of the headlines that were appearing in the paper. So he came to me and said, my man, I want this guy, man, to be my news editor. I said, well, I can't recommend him. He said, but as a reporter, you always making headlines. I said, well, I cannot recommend him. You want to take him, it's up to you, but I cannot recommend him. I didn't want to undercut my own reporter. But guess what the guy did? The guy employed the guy as news editor. It was a new paper coming up. He employed the guy as a news editor. The guy resigned from the Analyst. He went there as a news editor. Now he cannot edit stories. He cannot write headlines. So 1 week after the guy came and said, my man, how the guy was writing all the headlines? I said, I told you I cannot recommend. If you know someone's ability or inability, you knew that someone is not qualified to do a piece of job, and you rated the person high and recommend the person that the person is able to do the job. You have not just worked in your own interest, in your parochial interest, but you have deceived the nation. So if this man goes over there with his imperfection, his incapability, his unprofessionalism, his inability to proficiently do the job, you are also taking the last part of the blame, because you told the people that follow you to vote for him because he was going to do better. It's not the case of Anthony. If I know that Anthony is capable of sitting on this radio, and I know Anthony has performed well coming on this interview before, and I recommend Anthony, and Anthony went and did something different and said, well, the man is qualified, but he just went astray. That's two different things. But if you're not qualified, and I recommend you, and you do exactly what people thought of you, that you're not qualified, it means I did it for my personal interest. And what did Gongloe say? Why they consider Gongloe say Ellen did it for her personal interest?
All right, let's bring in Darlington Collins here. Darlington, look, the thing remains debatable. As president of the republic, you appoint people. You designate people to do the job.
Mhm.
And this is what brother we are president we are has done. Some are qualified,
Mhm.
some not too qualified, not qualified at all. So I think he may share some blame there. But these people are the one who quote unquote are responsible, and it's not Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Do you not see it that way? But Tawan Gongloe is more like saying, well, everything 90% on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is not in every ministry, isn't it?
True. I mean, I think Councillor Gongloe, the respectable councillor, responded to this political issue with, using his legal lenses, attributing the doctrine of respondents superior to this question of Sirleaf support to Mr. Weah.
Okay.
And Councillor Gongloe needs to understand that this is politics here. It is not a Sunday school party where people are supposed to be righteous. He asserted in his Front Page Africa interview that, Madame have numerous skeletons in her closet, ranging from the bank, the bankruptcy of Nukal, and how she appointed, her family and her cronies in government that couldn't account for public resources, up to today's date, the $13 million, given by the UNDP for maternal newborn health remain unaccounted for under the Sirleaf administration. So Councillor Gongloe is cognizant about all of these issues, right? What I'm saying is that, let me be realistic here, Anthony. If you follow the political narrative at the time in 2017, the Liberian people, they weren't prepared to give the Unity Party a third term. They opted for an alternative. So insofar, at the time, I remember, I was in opposition. I have options at the time to support the CDC because they were the most popular political party at the time. But could the CDC could deliver victory? But could they exercise political leadership? That was the question that plundered in my mind. So as a young man at the time, I realized that we cannot entrust this state to the CDC. So I took a side, providing it with the LPP then Kennedy at the time, Dr. Fambule. So we always stand ready to provide better alternatives in electoral period for our people. Mind you, Vice President Bueka was very passive, as he still is. Yes, Joe Bueka, he's been praised for his integrity, but this old man have a way of, taking his time, how to engage in. You saw his speak for vice president at the time. A man who was in almost all of the corruption report at the House of Representatives, where Emmanuel Nukwe, now Senator of Magibi. You come to the pedestal as an integrous candidate, and your pick for vice president have a check-up power. That created the impression to some of us as young minds that the vice president, at times, he always.
But I'm not sure that factor into Ellen Johnson Sirleaf decision. Remember now, hold on, Darlington. Hold on now.
Very clear.
Yeah, you are clear. Let me throw this in here. You know very well, based on the very article and the fact that I know and things I read, Ellen from the get-go was hesitant about Bueka running. Bueka insisted. He said, okay, fine. Let me recommend who to be your VP. Bueka said, no, it can't be your call. That's my call. I'm the candidate. I decide. You decided for me. No one told you that. So let me have that choice. And she was a major player. And, so Bueka almost like, well, I don't really need you. And so now she was left with the option of, finding what would be an alternative. And you narrated about she going to what is called the Liberty Party. And things did not materialize. Again, as a political actor, she's looking at the field and say, well, how can we transition peacefully without chaos? She learned to George Weah. All right. And her goal there was to continue a smooth transfer of, and Bueka can be responsible for that, right? So how is Ellen again responsible for what we are experiencing today when all she did what every citizen would do to just elect somebody or support anybody of their choice?
You see, the challenge of the CDC from taking power, even 2005, was strategy, logistics, which is very important in any democratic political processes. So she basically bankrolled the campaign of the CDC. What I'm trying to say here, to say we cannot apportion 90% of the blame to Mrs. Sirleaf. Rather, they like bring people to share into the blame. We know at the time in Mrs. Sirleaf's second term how dismally she performed in fighting corruption. In fact, in Councillor Gongloe session, she tied corruption.
Are you with us there?
Option as a the Liberian people were very much informed that Madame Sirleaf performed very much poorly, and there were reports for audit on the Sirleaf administration. But the people saw that Mrs. Sirleaf was supporting Mr. Weah, but they refused to come to terms with the reality. In Kenya, when the sitting president was supporting the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, against the popular will of the Kenyan people with the current vice president, the people rallied behind the current vice president, who is not the president. The people saw through the former president of Kenya. The Liberian people knew very well that Mrs. Sirleaf was basically playing this political Maradonian role to find her way around.
Don't you think Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was trying to help grant the people what was, knowingly or seemingly their will at the time? They wanted a change, and the change at the time met the CDC.
Ellen was just basically seeking her interest. When people come, there's the thing, right, Anthony?
But it was the Liberian people. It was the Liberian people who were saying, well, George, we have hope for change before Ellen jumped on that train. From the get-go, Ellen was thinking Bwaka and somebody else. But then when she saw that most of the Liberian people were like, George, we are, she said, well, I will jump in there. So she did what nearly most Liberians did.
Ellen had an agenda at the time. Her agenda in 2017 was for administration to go unchecked. So she did an analysis. She made an assessment of the landscape. In 2017, she started doing business with Councillor Bromsky and Vice President Boyka. It was unclear which one she supported. She was basically buying new pickups through the legs of Musa Belete for the Liberty Party. When things didn't materialize with Bromsky, she wasn't getting answer from Bromsky. She did an analysis that it would be beneficial to her. That says it was the overwhelming popular will of the Liberian people to usher in the CDC regime. She then gave her boys at the Ministry of Finance instruction, to bankroll the election of the CDC. Her interest was for her regime to go unchecked by all means necessary. Because she knew that this guy who had underperformed, that instead of him focusing on checkmating her, his own excesses were revealed to the international community, as we are seeing.
And then why are you not agreeing with Chancellor Gongloe 100%? Why are you not?
Because it appears as a portioning blame, in which every regime must account for their own action.
Okay.
We can continue to apportion blame to the Sirleaf administration to say she assumed 90% of the blame. No.
Thank you. Let bring Mr. Jerry in. Mr. Jerry,
I completely disagree with my junior brother.
Okay, go ahead.
That's fine.
Anthony, I'm a journalist by profession.
Yeah.
Being editors. And if I recommend a reporter to your office and say, Anthony, this guy is a damn good writer, and the person cannot even write the first lead of his story, you look at me as someone who has bad judgment.
Yes.
What Ellen did was a bad judgment. She didn't do it because she knew that George Weah would have done better. She didn't do it because she knew that George Weah would have improved the trajectory of the country. No, she did that because she wanted to protect her own interest. She was angry with Joe Boakai, so the best thing to do is to please herself by supporting someone who she knew was not competent, was not qualified to hurt Joe Boakai's feeling. That's number one. Number two, she knew that George Weah would have failed the country, and then she will automatically become the hero and say, oh, when Ellen was there, these things, and people are saying it today. People are saying that today. When Ellen was there, this was happening. Now it's not happening. When Ellen was there, this was happening. Now it's not happening. So it makes her to look like a hero. So her recommendation of George Weah, which thousands of her followers, perhaps millions of her followers, were able to vote for George Weah from the perspective of the Unity Party, who crossed over and voted for George Weah because of Ellen, and other people who were between the fences, and say, well, I'm on the fence because I don't know if George Weah can make it. I don't know if Joe Barker is the best person. And
Anthony, can I ask the big
hold on, Darlington. Let me push back.
I want to ask you.
Here's the thing. Everybody, people are on the fence. Okay, a lot of people are on the fence. Say George Weah is not qualified. Joseph Barker just served 12 years.
You think those people were in the majority? Those who were on the fence?
I was one of the. The majority were on the fence. The majority were on the fence.
It would be hard to decide, but I would think.
Yeah, but that's my perspective. I may be wrong. I may be right.
I would think majority were for Weah, and the records are there. If you look at the.
Well, I can't say that because George Weah, a majority of for Weah, George Weah was unable to win the election 2 times. So the majority was not for Weah.
Let me ask you one question.
Hold on, Darlington, you were coming. You're coming. What I'm saying, you have to look at the political dynamics that brought George Weah into the picture. George Weah did not win the election 2 times because he did not have the majority. If he had a majority, he would have won Ellen twice. Ellen had a majority, that's why she won twice. And because she had a majority,
even though in 2005, Weah won the highest amount of votes.
No, I can't say that. The election said Ellen won.
In the first round, George Weah won more votes than Ellen Johnson Sirleaf.
In the last round, Ellen won the election.
Okay.
So the first round, there were a lot of political parties. So some people took away from Ellen's party, Ellen's number. So because of the I think about 22 parties in at the time. And so when they went there, George Weah was able to pull 23.
And so don't you think after Ellen left the scene, that majority had kind of switched to George Weah? Don't you think so?
When Ellen was leaving, if Ellen was leaving, Ellen said, look, those of you who are following me, since you've been following me, this is the person I believe will do well. Those 3 people were going to follow that group.
So before I can bring Darlington in, here's the point too, though.
Yes.
President Weah as a candidate, the CDC as a political party, have made their own argument. We can disagree whether it was solid, whether they have plans or not, but they express their aspiration to lead Liberia to the point Liberians believe in them that the man has a country at heart. So it could not have been more so because Ellen said. It could have been more so because of the George Weah they knew, that they saw in themselves, who they had believed would be able to deliver for them. So I might think Ellen was a little more irrelevant here, when in fact she was not in the picture, and then she was condemned as corrupt. Her administration, people felt, has failed, right? And so Weah was his own year, and not necessarily what Ellen has said. And it was more so what Weah was and what people have believed in for. Don't you think so?
Well, I slightly disagree, but here is the thing. Let me say 2 things here. Now, and Darlington can come here, I can listen to his.
Yeah.
The first thing is, Councillor Gongloe does not go to the past to blame the past. From time to time, if you go back to all his interview, he always say we cannot blame the people for voting for George Weah because they wanted to test him, because he asked them to vote for him, that he was going to do good, but he disappointed them. That was all his statement all the time. Number 2, Councillor Gongloe was asked a question in the interview about Ellen involvement, and he was responding to Ellen involvement. So it is not like blaming Ellen for the problem of the country. But if you ask Councillor Gongloe and say, what's about Ellen involvement into the process, then he will definitely tell you the role that Ellen played that led us to this point. If Ellen, as a political guru, let me use that word, as a political guru who knows the problem, she had tasted power, she knew what Liberia's problem was. She knew the enormity of the problems that Liberians were faced with, what needed to be done. And she takes a man who rushed through college, that none of us can even rush through. John, we are so clever that he did 5 years to get bachelor degree and master degree, everything together. Me, I never do that before. And the man come and tell us that this man is able to solve the problem of the country. This is what Councillor Gongloe is saying. You cannot know better. You cannot know better and tell people to go for the worst thing. And then if you do that, it means you have a parochial interest to protect. That's what he was trying to say.
All right. Let's bring in Darlington.
You see, Anthony, I'm very active listener. I try to listen to the veteran journalists. So let me be, my question I wanted to ask, let me be very rhetorical here now. So, Mr. Gibson, if I were to recommend somebody to your newsroom, maybe to help in the editorial team. Are you insinuating to me that you will not subject them to interview to know their capability or what ability do they bring to your news team? That's one. Two, we got to be very clear here. We only cited Ellen action of breaking ground for the role of the Banga to Minikoma Highway in Bond County with Mr. Weah. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not take on to the radio in public debate for her support to Mr. Weah. It was being rumored that she bankrolled his campaign to her friends at the Ministry of Finance directly instruction. Ellen supported her with finance. Ellen did not. It wasn't yet clear that the Liberian people, at the time of Ellen's conclusion of a second thing, they despise Mr. Sirleaf. Why do we want to keep making excuses for the Liberian people, Anthony? The Liberian people, do we have different blood from the people of Kenya? The outgoing president of Kenya never supported his vice president. He supported the opposition figure. The people know what they wanted. Big brother Cheru, you and I here today, we are supporting a man of high impeccable character, Councillor T1 Gongloe of the LPP. So when we go through these upcoming 2023 election, we are providing an alternative voice for the people. We are saying, go back to the hands of time. Assess Councillor Gongloe's public service record. Every time he was in governance and when he was unhappy and he aired his views when the system was uneasy, he resigned. Ever since, Gongloe has remained critical of national political issues in the country. In fact, Councillor Gongloe in the country, they call him poor man loyal. He is famously known for riding his red Nissan Pathfinder Jeep that he parked and come into our the Commerce. We all know Tier 1. He's no stranger to us because we know how he lives.
I think you have internet problem there.
Yeah.
But
we know what he stands. That is why we are providing an alternative to say, hey, we are going to a crucial process in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
We are offering another man again to be an alternative. So what happens if the Liberian people don't listen to us? So tomorrow when we start to shave lean on Paul and Peter, the Liberian people in democratic processes, we are entitled to go to the ballot box and elect the government of the day. Mm-hmm. As you sow, you reap. Madam Sirleaf is a political figure. She's not a saint. She's not the Pope. She have Ellen, even what Ellen only interest in Liberia was to be president. That is why she undermined all of the different democratic institutions in the country. Whether it was supporting the rascal Mr. Taylor with money to bring war on Samuel Doe, Ellen had no interest. Her interest was to come to power. If she's living internationally when she's the darling girl of the West, she don't want you to go into a closet and turn off her Scollingtons. So by all means necessary, she will protect her interests. So the Liberian people had a fiduciary responsibility in 2017 to elect their leader. I did not remember Mr. Sirleaf taking to the radio to support Mr. Weah. She wasn't emphatic that she was supporting her vice president. The only picture that I was seeing was when Mr. Sirleaf broke grounds with Mr. Weah. And when they asked Mr. Weah in Ghana to rate the performance of the Sirleaf administration, he said he gave her 85 or something. I stand to be corrected. So the Liberian people could see the narrative. They could sense that this man was subject. Every time there was presidential debate held in 2017, George Weah escaped all of the debates. I remember it was one of the UEFA Champions League. All Mr. Weah had to do was to attend the game between Chelsea, I think, and Barcelona, or Chelsea and Real Madrid in Spain. And the citizens, I remember I was in the video club. The moment they showed George Weah on the stream, whoa, they started screaming as if George Weah on the soccer pitch and he has scored a goal. We have said to this, we said to the Liberian people, you send this man to the Senate. And we follow his legislative records at the Senate. Every time when sections were over, the CDC people will hurry rush Mr. Weah to the car because he's not microphone friendly. His subject rep do not agree. He runs short of ideas. He cannot propound ideas of his own. So they managed. We have managed to talk to the then Senate Pro Tem, Amanjala, to make sure he were at the ECOWAS Parliament so that he will have limited interaction with the Liberian media. And Mr. Gibson, you know that. You're a journalist.
Thank you. And Darlington, hold on, Mr. Duro. Darlington, I couldn't agree with you more.
But
hold on, Mr. Duro. One of the things, Mr. Duro, come here, I'll give you time.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that we should not do is to absolve the citizenry, the voters, of their responsibilities, right? And if we do that, then we'll remain in this place. We have to help them to understand that they are the one who decide who becomes president. And whatever decision they make, that will determine the direction of our country.
As you make your bed,
that is why I told you earlier, I have serious disagreement with Yawon Gongloe for 90% blame on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for where we are. And now, Mr. Juro, I will bring you in to add this question to whatever you wanted to say, right? So you, the very Yawon Gongloe said, Ellen turned corruption into a vampire. So how could the person who turned corruption into a vampire, the corruption the Liberian people decry, and then the very person that turned the corruption into a vampire would be the one the Liberian people to listen to vote Josh Weah?
Like I told you, Ellen was corrupt. Everyone knew that. In fact, John, the former Auditor General, before he left Liberia, when he was appointed immediately, he said Ellen was 3 times corrupt, more than any government that Judy Bryan was.
Judy Bryan government.
Before. But here is the answer to that question. Ellen has her followers. Ellen has her followers. That's why she won twice in Liberia as president. Those who voted for her to win twice, they are people who appeal to her, who she appeals to. So even if 10% or 20% will not follow her in the new election, the rest were going to still follow her. We're still going to listen to her. Therefore, if she comes out as a person who knows the enormity of the issues that confront the country, and point to an incompetent, unqualified, and overly gratified individual and say, this man is going to do the job. And she make Liberians who believe in her to go and vote for the person. She didn't do it just because she believed that this man was going to produce results. She did it for her own parochial interest. And that's what Councillor Gongloe is trying to trace here. Because when the councillor is asked a question to respond to Ellen's role in the election, you don't expect him to hide his feelings. Even though she turned corruption into a vampire, how do we not even know that she knew that George Weah was going to be corrupt? She knew that George Weah was not going to do the right thing, and so George Weah was going to hide her evil past, and she knew that maybe Joseph Barker would not do that. Also, so Ellen did that for her interest. That's the point Councillor Gongloe was trying to make. So I told you earlier, I said numbers. Numbers are inconsequential. He can say 90%, I can say 60%. You, Danito, said 50%. You can even say 30%. But did she support George Weah? And if she supported George Weah, what kind of person she was? Who knew that George Weah was incompetent? And she will say, yes, I support him still. This is a woman who has advocated for the sanctity of politics in Liberia. Even though she herself was president, she didn't do everything that she talked about, but she knew that George was going to fail. And the bottom line is, this is why we need to be very careful. And I'm not taking away, or Councillor Gongloe is not taking away the decision of the people to vote George Weah. He has always recognized that the majority makes a decision. Does not mean that the majority was right. He understands very well that the majority may not be right. But if the majority takes a decision and makes a mistake, and makes a mistake, the majority cannot be scored because they make a mistake. They trusted the person. The person say, trust me. He say, okay, we'll trust you. And see what you're gonna do. And if they don't, he doesn't do what he asked for. The same majority can come back and say, look, we trust you.
Let us blame the majority, because at the end of the day, the majority made that decision, isn't it?
I don't know if we can blame people in democracy. I don't think.
Well, we have to hold them responsible. Another way of saying it.
You can't blame the people for what they like. Okay. You know, in democracy, we don't blame people for what they like. Okay? Did
they not contribute to what we have?
No, you can't blame them, because here is the thing.
Okay.
The people, you got to understand the demography of
your. So you are saying the trusted Weah, it was Weah now to prove himself.
Yes, and Weah did not prove himself.
Can we now say the same thing with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? That Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, now you are saying she didn't trust Weah, right? So even if she didn't trust Wia, the fact that Wia was given a responsibility to serve and deliver, I don't think whether Ellen was doing it for her own interest had taken away from Wia's willingness and love that he claimed to have had for the Liberian people to serve them. Don't you think so?
No, the Ellen case is different, Anthony.
Okay.
Ellen 2 times, Ellen told the Liberian people, don't vote for George Weah because he's incompetent. Vote for me because I'm competent. I'm qualified. I'm capable. George Weah is not competent. He's not qualified. He's not capable. Don't vote for him. They say, okay, we agree. That's true. The next time the election came, they said, don't vote for this man. I said, keep voting for me. I'm the best person that can change this country, that can do better. If you vote for George Weah, your country will go backwards. They said, we believe you.
Good argument there. Good argument. But let's look at the other side, right? Good argument there. Let's look at the other side. When Ellen was on this exploration, right, she was hesitant to Bwaka. She came home and said, Bwaka, okay, let go that day. And Bwaka said, no, I have to make a choice. I said that earlier. So she was, well, let me go to, Liberty Party. Somehow it didn't work well. Now she came to Ellen. This was Ellen processing her decision. The reason she went to Liberty Party because Bwaka was not in agreement. Can we hold Bwaka responsible? Because if Ellen has this power to influence who becomes president, Bwaka, if he had agreed, apparently he could have become president. So can we hold Bwaka responsible? And on the other side, can we give some credit here? Because in politics, it's an art of trying to win, right? So we are play smart and Guy Ellen, who according to you had that influence to move people. And so we are smart enough. Can we give credit and blame Bwaka also?
No, I can't give credit. I can't give credit.
Why not? You rated Ellen Johnson's salary 80%, and he promised her, I will protect you and your children. And so Ellen moved you in his direction.
Yeah, technically, we was smarting the rest of the people in politicking the situation. Okay. So let's give him the credit that he politicking the situation. All right. Okay. So, but the issue we are discussing is about knowing what the person was capable of doing. Your one voice, if it had to make a determining point, if it had to make a decision, if someone had to decide what to do, your one voice should stand out and say the former president told us that George Weah would not be good for us, and we did not listen. But she didn't do that. She fueled our people's inability to politically analyze an individual politician. The demographic of our country, and I'm not saying because they are not educated or because they don't study politics or they don't know about politics much, therefore they are stupid. No, nobody is stupid in Liberia. Everybody there has a reason for casting the ballot. Either they don't understand the ballot they are casting, they don't know the politician, they only do it, they only cast it because of family line, because of tribal line, because of some affinity. But the demographic of our country is always prone to making bad decisions. For instance, someone comes to you, Anthony, and say, you kill my mother and you kill my father, I will still make you president. That's the kind of people we are talking about.
And so today they are saying sanction, no sanction, we will vote for you.
Or no sanction, we vote for George Weah. They are saying that, can you imagine?
So we have been Ellen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we continue to follow these people, then we're supposed to educate them. What if Ellen had just educated and said, look, my people, let me tell you something. I know what the problem of the country is. I saw it. I tried. I didn't succeed in some, and I succeeded in some. But I can tell you, George Weah will not help it. He will not help this situation.
Thank you. Darlington is a little pressed with time. Let's bring him in. Let's hear your final take here.
I listen to the big brother. I'll follow through with the show even when I leave, right? So he said something. He said on 2 separate occasions, Mr. Sirleaf projected herself over Mr. Weah and said that he has no leadership ability. Elect me. Anthony, if I have to come and sell to you maybe an iPhone, I said this phone is not good. On 2 times, I said buy this other phone instead of this other phone. Something must be fundamentally wrong with you. Few years after, if I bring that same phone that I have despised and say buy this phone, so you who buying the phone should take responsibility.
Yep.
The people must take responsibility. And Mr. Gibson, I think you will agree with me, because you asserted in your points that on 2 separate occasions, Mrs. Sirleaf preferred herself over Mr. Weah and said she was the best candidate, she would do well. But she came back in 2017, quote unquote, and said, okay, George Weah is a good way now. So now you want to blame her for marketing George Weah? I think it's fair for you to take some responsibility. Now you particularly for the Liberian people. Again, we have an opportunity. You were saying, Anthony, sanction or sanction, we will vote for you. The people, our political conversation must be driven on the issues, not political slogans. That have always been the Liberian narrative, the SAR narrative. Whether you want to go back to Samuel Doe, native woman, born soldier. You want to go and native woman, born soldier, Congo woman, born row. You want to come to Taylor. You came a man. You came in power. Will vote for you. Fast forward to book your country dirty when they were ushering the Weah dynasty. These dam of kleptocrats that have only leeching on the loots of the country. Now, the very same Liberian people are saying sanctions or no sanctions will vote for you. So if we now provide these people an alternative, if the people decide to elect Mr. Weah, as you saw, you read, I think after elections time, when political people get inaugurated into office, it is harvest time. So the Liberian people, again, it is only through taking responsibility that even if you listen to the Americans, our friends, listen to the American ambassador, he said Liberians should now take stock and seize the movement, copy DM. Take responsibility. The people, no, you see, Anthony, let me say this. The leaders that emerge in our country, they are not necessarily the worst in humankind. They are not the backward of human beings. The leaders are a reflection of who we are. The Liberian people have the tendency of being meek. We don't hold public leaders accountable. When you come to ask your lawmakers critical questions, they say, who are you to question the representative? If I your own man will call you to say, my son, you young. Tell your mother for any people thing. Look in the sub-region. Look at our country. Liberia, this country with rich history. And George Weah himself contributed to this rich history. Whether he won, the FIFA World Best Player of the Year, to give Liberia on this space. What do we do with our history? Writing your own history like Miriam Makeba, the South African and social activists, taking stock of your own history. So they look at the Ghana. The Ghanaians always, they polish their story, and as if to say it is only Ghana that the slave trade happened. Go look on the whether it is TikTok. The Ghanaians, they are attracting more people from the American diaspora to troop into Ghana. They do the thing of the year of the return. They do the global citizen thing because it is about the world you live in today is marketing, Anthony. The Ghanaians are doing way better than we are. Look at where Liberia was. How many Liberians here know that the first president of Nigeria, Dr. Nani Azikiwe, went to school on a Liberian scholarship? How many people know that in the West African region, the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law used to be one of the top notch? Well, people from all over Africa will come and go to the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law. See where your country is today. You go for the least among your kind, and you give them presidency. And just before I close, I want to say to the people of Grangeda County that you need to reflect on your history. When your sons, 13 of them, some of them were on circumstantial evidence accused by the Sirleaf administration at the time and language behind bars, when nobody could stand up for young men to say, no, these young people must be given an opportunity to a fair, speedy, and proper trial. Councillor Tiawon Gongloe put all on the line. Put all on the line. Represented Ghanaians and ensure that he was their lawyer and made sure that case reaches its logical legal conclusion in the court within the government of Liberia. You need to know who your friends are. Do not be carried away by this whole thing about Southeast and Nimba and Grangeda. If you're looking for an ally, Tiawon may be from Nimba, but I think he's more of an ally to the people of Grangeda County. search your history, know who he is. I do not agree apportioning 90% of the blame to Mr. Sirleaf because Ellen or no Ellen, our country will progress. I mean, whether Mr. Sirleaf will die in 5 years, in 10 years, I wish her well. I even pray for long life. Even when she's normal, we will
Thank
tell
you.
people to take flowers to her grave and remind her that this place called Liberia is doing well.
And so to the discussion, I give you a minute to close, and then we'll bring in
It's awesome. It's always a privilege to come on here, and Big Brother Terrorist is a privilege. I mean, Councillor Gongloe is doing very well. We're following the debate, but I think in more of these conversations, it is only through people-centered conversation and the people taking responsibility that we can change the course of history. The Liberian people must understand that we cannot keep on pampering the people and finessing the politics and massaging our people's ego. You have an opportunity. It is your children's future that is at stake. Anthony, I mean, thank God I live here in the US. Before the end of the day, I do not have to beg for bread. I will have a bottle of water to drink. My utilities will not go over me. I mean, thank God for that. We can manage and maneuver our way. It is your children. You know, it pains my heart that a young Liberian will be at the JFK and could not afford medical bill, will jump from the top floor and come down only because he cannot afford a medical bill. It is your children's future that is at stake. When we fight for a decent country, it is because we all one day we want to go back to a republic. So if you do well, you do to yourself. Don't say, oh, it meant good, tier one good, but he came late. Oh, is that a narrative? It meant good, it meant tier one good, but no, but what? This man is providing you policy and prescription. The choice is yours. Except you want to support people because you are interested in government job.
Thank you, Darlington.
Interested in that. What we are interested in is an agenda that will transform our country, an agenda that will show respect for the rule of law, as equally as Liberians will drive in the United States with caution and realize that there is a rule of law. So we want our people to proceed with caution, that no young person should not come to government and line himself with taxpayer resources, with multiple girlfriends that he cannot afford, and keep on the loots of the state. Young men who come to public service must be disciplined and want to go to government. I look forward to a day where when the president appoints Anthony in government, he will go and have a conversation with his wife, whether he wants to take that job. Are you disciplined enough to take such a position? Because if you perform poorly, it will put you on the public pedestal of condemnation. Thank you very much.
Darlington Collins, young progressive there with his closing. Thanks for coming. We appreciate your perspective. Let me come back to you, Mr. Joe. The conversation continue. I think, what's your take on what Darlington just said? Do you agree?
I like Comrade Collins. He is a very young, smart, enterprising young man. And he's not. He and I didn't really differ on major issues, except for the number. We all agree that there was a mistake in the past. But actually, this is something I want to warn all of those who are supporting Gongloe. I'm doing international politics. Okay, I'm doing international politics, and in politics, the voters, yes, they will take responsibility. Is the best way to say it. But we don't blame voters for their decision. When you like something, it's almost like an opportunity cost in accounting. In economics, opportunity cost. If I have $5 and the $5 can buy me bread to eat, and I can also use the $5 to smoke. If I use the $5 to smoke instead of eating, well, I'm enjoying the smoke, but I'm hungry. That's just the decision-making part of politics. So we tell you, look, you put your trust in this person, but the person betray your trust. You now need to think about someone who has the ability to do what you wanted, what you wanted in the first place. That's how we proceed in politics. But Councillor Gongloe will not go out there and say, you're the Liberian put up voted for George Weah, we blame you for voting for George Weah. Councillor Gongloe will never say that because it's not the right way to proceed. I mean, we appreciate the decision you made, but there was an error. And you realize there was an error, you take your decision and reverse it to something better. So that's what I mean. But when we're talking about blaming people, we're talking about people who know better. people who know better, in the sense that you have gone through the process and you know the rigors, the temptations, the complexity, and you come back and tell us, and you know that somebody is not competent to do the job, and you tell Liberian people and say, this man is capable of doing the job, and you do everything in your power to make the person to succeed, not just saying it, not just talking about it and going and relaxing, but you ensure that the person succeeds, and you know the person cannot do it. It all speaks to what Councillor Gongloe talked about early, trying to fuel her own personal interest. And it was not intended to benefit the country.
Thank you. At this time, folks, we want to say we are just joining all. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is the Hour of Politics with me. I have in studio Mr. Gibson Jeru, Chairman of Gongloe Strategic Media Committee. And please hit that share button. The topic we are discussing is Gongloe places 90% of current Governor Woes on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We will be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be reading your comments and taking your phone calls. The number to call is in the student text below. We also place that number in the Facebook live feed as well as the YouTube live feed. According to Tiawon Gongloe, man, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf bear 90% responsibility for the current poor state of Liberia economically and politically. Councillor Gongloe went on to say Ellen Johnson Sirleaf turned corruption into vampire, and when she did that, the reason she supported Georgia just for her to protect her own interests. That's what he said. Do you agree with Councillor Gongloe? We will take a short break. When we come back, we will be taking phone calls and we will start with comments. Right? So get your call coming, a short break, and we'll be right back. Okay, folks, we are back with you here. We will look at comments. First, this one from Emmanuel, bro. Emmanuel writes, gentlemen, don't waste your time. We, the vast majority of Liberians, are determined now and more than ever before to re-elect President George Manuel Weah in 2023. Like, yeah, from Robin here. They say Cummings is new to Liberia, so he should go as VP to GMB, and now they are saying Gongloe. This person, Delano Roosevelt Tota Sr., watching from Germany, and thanks for joining us from all the way Germany. Like, yeah, from Chroma, that is Foliboli Chroma. I hope I got that right. Gentlemen, after listening to many of the arguments and the counter, I think Joseph Boakai is also partly responsible for one person and one reason only. Boakai's failure to know Manan Sirleaf and his inability to manage the former by getting to power let VP Boakai answer why he could not get the support of Manan Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Let's hear from Abraham Bangu, Gibson Jeru. Is not the messenger for this message because he was supporting President Weah. He was supporting Weah throughout. Let's hear from the man Jimmy Eastman, who is a member of this network. Exactly, the Liberian people elected who they wanted. Fought early for not supporting her VP and policy, but the Liberian people made the choice, and I ultimately made that choice. Let's hear from Henrietta Kona Manga. I do not blame Madam Sirleaf. I blame the Liberian people. They have other candidates besides Weah, but they wanted Miami in Liberia. Aliens were seeking her interest. Liberians should have sought their own interest, she's saying in my own words, by voting right instead of the boy get the country ahead election has consequences to conclude. Let's hear from Sam Dopo. Has Ellen ever told President Weah he's blundering as president and his blunder is causing her to lose her legacy? I don't know where he's going with that. When let's hear from Lawrence here. Lawrence writes, President Lincoln said, and I write, nearly all men can stand adversities. But if you want to test man's character, give him power. The Liberian people have seen Mr. Weah's true character. Are they willing to give him another 6 years? That is the question the Liberian people must answer. Let's hear from Patrick Joel. Opposition is clueless. They have no idea how to beat President Weah next year. So they are looking for point to prove to their followers. Let's hear from King here. The reason Weah never corrects his action is due to you all folks blaming others around him instead of holding him accountable. And I couldn't agree with that. We need to hold Weah accountable. He appointed all these people. Comments there, Mr. Juru. Let me get a response to the comments, and then we'll go to the phone line to take some calls, sir. Mr. Juru? You are muted, sir. You are muted.
First of all, I like the comments, and that's a good point that they make there, that we should hold Weah accountable. Of course, that's why Councillor Gongloe is in the race, to hold George Weah accountable. Councillor Gongloe believes that George Weah mismanaged the trust and confidence and power that the Liberian people gave him. They trusted him. They believed that he told them he was going to do a good job for them, and they believe him, and they gave him the power that they have to become president of Liberia. But in the execution of the duties of the office of president, President Weah has misled everyone. He has betrayed everyone's trust. This is why Councillor Gongloe is saying, look, you know what? This man you trusted, he betrayed your trust. Take me. I am capable of transforming the system as you want it to be. That's why he is holding George Weah accountable. The reason we are talking about early is because doing an interview, if they ask you a question, you need to respond to the question. And Councillor Gongloe was responding to a question. Councillor Gongloe is not going out there campaigning and blaming Ellie and blaming Ellie and blaming Ellie. No, that's not why his modus of campaign is. His modus of campaign is to talk about the errors of George Weah, the blatant action of George Weah, how George Weah betrayed the trust of the people, how George Weah has misused the power that the people gave him, how George Weah has dashed the hope of everyone. He campaigned on change for hope. But what is this? Are we still hoping, or is the hope over? Because George Weah government now has become a pariah for all Liberian, as the tip of all Liberian failed states. George Weah state has become a pariah. So definitely Councillor Gongloe believes that George Weah must be held accountable. That is why he's in the race to become president of Liberia. He's not going in the race to campaign against Ellie Johnson Sirleaf. He's not going there to campaign against Joseph Boakai. He's not going there to campaign against Alexander Cummings. They are all the people they are challenging the current administration. So there might be issue that will come out and say, oh, what do you think about Joseph Boakai? Or he will make a position on Joseph Boakai. Or what do you think about Alexander Cummings? He will say something about Alexander Cummings. But the focus of the campaign is not to campaign against Joseph Boakai or Alexander Cummings or Daniel Cassell or any of these presidential candidates who are also campaigning against the incumbent. Gongloe wants to make George Weah a one-time president. That is his objective. He's not there to look left or look right. His focus is to tell the Liberian people that you voted for George Weah, you gave him your power, he told you he was going to do good job, but he's doing bad job. Take the power away from him, give it to me. I have the credential, I have the capability, I have the qualification and the competence to do the job that you want to be done.
Thank you. At this time, we will go to the phone line, and we have a Bwaka supporter who supports Mr. Bwaka unrelentingly, unbending. The man is Aliu Kamara. He's a good friend. Mr. Kamara, let hear you. Let us hear you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Thank you for the show this afternoon. It's been a very great show. This is one of the very few times I've actually almost agree 100% with Jerome. He's done a great job. And one of the things I've noticed in this interview or debate, if you like to call it, is he has walked in a very fine line. Remember one thing, I know you said Joseph Walker supporters, but remember Joseph Walker supporters are usually sympathizers to Taiwan Gongloe as well. So the way he played his card tonight is a very bright way to play it because those who love Walker love Gongloe. It's just one of those things that you have to pick one, and they happen to just pick
Even
one.
though that
So
very Bwaka will not pick Gongloe in 2017, right? And went to a corrupt Nukwe,
no, no, no,
reportedly.
no, 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 no. But you have to understand that Gongloe was not in the United Party, and okay. So he couldn't have picked Gongloe even if he wanted to. But I
He
do
had the power
agree.
to pick anybody, right? And he chose Nukwe.
You have to. You don't want us to have you don't want us to have institutions, right? You guys want us to have institutions. Um,
Bernie Sanders, an independent, ran as on the Democratic in the Democratic primary. Yeah, that doesn't mean the Democratic Party is not an institution. You have to be inclusive.
who
We're
told you?
talking about
Who told
Liberia here.
you? Who told you Bernie Sanders was an independent?
Bernie Sanders have been an independent candidate from the great state of Vermont. That is the record. You can say whatever you want.
Don't hold you on that thing, guys.
So I'm
Independent was
saying
not being a
Waka
Democratic
could
primary.
pay Tiawon Gonglo, even though Tiawon Gonglo had been a member of LPP. He could make that decision. It was about Liberia. At the end of the day, no party is about Liberia, right? But let me hear you, man. I don't want to hold you. You're not strong today. You're
Yeah,
lazy today.
yeah, because you're absolutely deviating from the real issue. The real issue is
Mhm,
remember again. We're talking about institutions.
mhm.
What support will have Joseph Boakai get if he had walked out of the United Party to pick a candidate? A United Party that was already divided at that particular moment when Ellen Johnson had her group going to George Weah. So I don't know what logic that makes. And also, the one Gwangolo did not express a desire. In fact, the one Gwangolo was not even participated in politics in 2017. It's just recently that he came out to
Mhm,
announce himself. At this time, a lot of us have already joined the project camp.
mhm.
So we are with Taiwan in case of anything. Now, your idea is very possible now. Now that politics is evolution in many different dimensions, if you will.
Mhm,
Now you can actually form a merger.
mhm.
Now we people are more concerned about forming collaboration. So come in the second round, it's because there will be a second round. Then we can bring this debate or this argument at that time. And I guarantee you, Mr. Booker at no time can hesitate to have a team with Taiwan where they have the same uh they have the same persona. The only difference between the two is Taiwan Bongo is vocal and Joseph Baka is quiet. Those are the only two things
And
that
you want a
separate the
quiet
two
man for
people.
president? You want a quiet man for president?
But listen, we're talking about a person who is resolute in terms of his ability to
Mhm.
act. The person who would bring the necessary result as is required by the Liberian people. Those are things that we're going to focus. If you
And,
are
and,
quiet,
and
if
does
you
he
have
have
some vice
that history
president,
of results? Does Bwaka have any history of results? If so, just give me two.
Joseph Braga have history of result, lots of histories of
Just give
results.
me two.
We know.
Give me one from the CPP and give
Well,
me one from his past.
no, no, no. I want you to limit things to where I can give you. But let me give you this, okay? CPP were already broken. CPP was already set up for failure when Braga took over.
So
The
as a
only
leader, he
small
needed to
thing.
fix it. If he could not fix a CPP of just four parties, can he fix a Liberia of 15 counties and about 15 tribes or so. Can he?
Okay, maybe I should draw a dichotomy from your question. Maybe illustrate something for the audience here. Okay, CPP is organized, or the full flow at the time there were full political parties. The decision of CPP had to come from CPP.
Okay.
Okay. If one person in the CPP was not cooperating with the remaining 3 people in the CPP was bound to fail. If you had one individual in the CPP who was adamant that for some reason he has a natural right to the leadership of that organization because he has acquired something that nobody else has acquired, and nothing else, he will stop at nothing, not a city mayor, not a superintendent, not a senator. He's fully good to be the president and the head of the CPP.
I'll take that for the sake of time. Waka served as vice president. Give me something as a government actor at the time that he delivered for Liberia, something monumental or meaningful. Give me one.
I totally will, but I want you, as I answer your question, I want you to take into consideration Article 51 of the Liberian Constitution as well. Okay? So Joseph Boakai did his job as a constitutional vice president. Listen to all of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's interview. She said she does not regret the decision to make Joseph Boakai vice president. He proved her right. That's enough for you to know that as far as the Constitution mandated, he did his job. He did his job very well. I just wanted to close on this.
Is Boakai a truth teller? Is Boakai a truth teller?
It depends on your definition for truth telling.
Okay.
I don't know any scenario where Boakai lied, unless you want to let me in on a scenario where Boakai.
Just tell me one truth he told, so we can take leave of you.
But Boakai said that even though the Unity Party did tremendously well, given where the country was when the political party took over, however, some opportunities were squandered. More could have been done, but at the point in time, there were some young boys who were busy doing a PowerPoint presentation as opposed to doing the actual job. Does that sound a truth to you, a truth teller to you? I don't know what a truth teller is.
I would take that to be truth telling, and he brought that same truth telling to the CPP. He squandered opportunity in there too. But please conclude.
Let me tell you this.
Please conclude.
Let me tell you this. Yes, sir. Let me tell you this. You can take your horse to the water, but you will not make the horse drink that water.
Okay.
If the CPP, the confusion in the CPP was already endemic, and there was nothing that Joe Boakai could do, he tried his hardest. He is not one of those people who will be on social media talking from one radio station to another talking. He's tried to resolve the problem in-house. CPP in group with Senator UA and Yombly and others tried to work this out. But
Mr. Kamara, thank you.
Was already in there, and there was nothing anyone could have done.
We appreciate.
You guys are having a great show.
Yeah. No, I'd say I appreciate your perspective and for always calling your focus on Liberia. You said we're not serious, but we're in Liberia now. When will you come to say you guys are serious?
You guys are serious. I said that you guys are serious. I'm very proud of not just your presence in Liberia, because anyone can be in Liberia, but the magnitude of your presence, the significance of the way you do, the quality of the work you do. Now, I can openly say on this platform that you guys are serious. I know there's still ways to go, but everything these days has something to do with money. And hopefully, I think the technical know-how is there. What you guys need to expand is money. And we're working on that. We're hoping that the Unity Party, through the support that team, would actually focus on Liberia, given that you have calmed down a little bit. You're not attacking help a bit too much. So we can work on that.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having me.
I don't want you to hold me responsible, just as Tiawan is blaming or Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So you guys should carry her trouble. All right, thank you. Thank you, my friend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Mr. Joe, you heard our caller there, your response, so that we can close this.
Look, to be honest, if I were to meet Omen Boakai, I would tell him not to contest again. I mean, I respect age, I respect his contribution in government.
Mhm.
I was not happy with some of it, but we want something more dynamic, more progressive, more challenging, more innovative. And to be honest, the old man needs to retire, and we support him to be retired and enjoy his retirement rather than putting the old man through the rigors of political wrangling. I think the time for the old man to rest and enjoy the work that he has done in the country, I think is sufficient. But again, I will end with something today. I said it the other day on the same show in another program that the only possibility to beat George Weah at the ballot box is only Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. And the reason I believe strongly, Anthony, is that Councillor Gongloe is the only man, if you look at the dynamics of politics in Liberia today, you just talk about the CPP. The Liberian people were hoping so much on the CPP. But what happened? They blew it into the air. They destroyed themselves. They stabbed each other in the back. Now the Liberian people don't trust them. Now, the second point is, if any member of the CPP, Cummings, Boaka, any of them that will go against George Weah will win Monserrato, and George Weah will win Nima County, and George Weah will win the Southeast, and he becomes the next president. If Cummings go against George Weah, Senator Johnson will deliver Nima County to George Weah. If Boaka goes against George Weah, Senator Johnson will deliver Nima County. The only person who will go against George Weah and Nima County will not be delivered to George Weah, as well as the various political leaders in the opposition will support that person, is only Gongloe. Gongloe is cool with everyone. They trust great integrity. He is clean, and he has his head on his shoulder.
You think Ellen is cool with Gongloe when he's talking like this?
Ellie is not cool with, Ellie is not cool with Gongloe, but trust me, when that time comes, Ellie will have no voice to speak against Gongloe. You can only speak against someone who you know has skeleton in his closet. Ellie knew very well where Gongloe stands in terms of integrity. This man openly resigned from your government and told you the trajectory of your government is not why he came to power, and he's no longer going to identify with that government. So Ellie will come and say what? Oh, the man resigned. At the end job, he refused to take the job. He's not willing to serve. You know?
When it comes to vendetta, I would think you know Ellen better than I do.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And you, as a journalist, you might have reported on many of these things.
Oh yes.
So yeah, it's Gongloe, because I will see this as one of the popular rebuke of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, that she exercised the poorest judgment.
Yep.
Who have campaigned covertly and open it. Somebody was prepared. These are the words that one Gongloe is using. I don't think Ellen's going to take kindly to these words. Oh. And the verity I went on to say, it is because Ellen was afraid that if she were to support Boaka are going to hold off accountable, or maybe say, are we forgetting this Councillor Bronskin, right? And Bronskin, will come to hold her accountable. That's why she went with Weah. So why would Ellen, who in your argument here, can move some numbers in any direction, why would Ellen want to support Tiawan Gongloe? Tiawan Gongloe now shooting himself in the leg here are they before?
No. I mean, Ellen has when she recommended George Weah to be president of Liberia, the Liberian people knew that her judgment were faulted, and she did it because of personal aggrandizement, personal gratification. So right now, she cannot pull anybody to go to vote for anybody, and they listen. There'll be a few people still beyond Ellen. There's no problem. There are people. You are muted, Anthony. If you mind. Yeah. Okay. So definitely, nobody going to follow Ellen after making colossal errors, mistakes, bad judgment, bad recommendation of the man who is in power, who is inept, who is the epitome of self-gratification, of failure. I mean, Councillor Gongloe is a fighter. I mean, we from Grand Jada will know what Ellen Vendetta means. I mean, I for sure you know that Ellen Vendetta is cut across, but Grand Jada felt Ellen Vendetta more than anything. But we know that Councilor Gongloe also is a fighter. And if Ellen Johnson Sirleaf dare lift a finger of Chairman Gongloe, we will deal with her in her own coins.
Of recent, Mr. Juru, of recent, I don't know whether Tiawan is somehow conflict a little bit. You are supporting him. I'm sure you talked to him. Of recent, he was on one media platform, and the question of Prince Johnson came with respect to the War Crime Court. And he was like, I'm not here to answer that question. My reading is that he was trying to play safe. He didn't want to say directly that yes, if that time comes and I'm president, this man will face the war and economic crime. So he was not prepared to say that. I feel that he was like, okay, if I do that, my people in Nima will have issues with me. I don't want to lose votes. But now it comes to Ellen. Ellen accurately commends a lot of people, maybe then Prince Johnson, maybe. So why is he direct on Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and he cashed cold feet when it came to Prince Johnson? Is he not confusing things here?
Well, first of all, the War Crime Code is not intended for Prince Johnson alone, just in case Prince Johnson will be caught into the web. It's not for him alone. We have George Bullitt, we have the Mundell leader, all of them are also part of the war, and there are allegations across everywhere about what some of them did and what some of them didn't do. Prince Johnson is taking the War Crime Code to be as if he is the only person who fought the war, or he is taking it to the Nima people to make it as a political tool, like the Nibayans were the only people who fought war, or they are the only people who kill people in the war in Liberia. There are a lot of people kill people, Krampo kill people, Bassa kill people, Bloma kill people. All the tribes. In fact, there were worse people in some of the tribes than Nima people. Okay, but Councilor Gongloe right now are beginning to ask ourselves too, to ask the question and say, well, okay, they War Crime Court. Ellen didn't do it. Joshua didn't do it. If Councilor Gongloe come, what would be the purpose of two government not doing it and Councilor government taking it on? Now, that's not Councilor Gongloe view, I'm telling you. That's not a patriot view that I'm taking. That some of us, like me, I'm asking myself a question. If I were to participate in the party discussion tomorrow about the War Crime Code, what do I tell the councilor where I stand on the issue? I'm thinking if Ellen passed it, then do it. Joshua passed it. That's about 18 years we're talking about here. Then Councilor Gongloe comes in at the 19th year and say, well, the war fought for 20 years, 18 years passed, nobody did anything. In the 19 years, then I decide to dig out old wounds. If I were to make a suggestion to Councilor Gongloe, which I know is going to be tough for him to agree because he's an advocate of impunity, he's an advocate of discipline. He does not believe in impunity. So I would be able to tell him and say, Councilor Gongloe, can we just look for something that will be more meaningful to the Liberian people rather than trying to enact more trouble for our country?
Mr. Juru, we're talking about healing here. Time's a fast spend.
Exactly.
I hope you're not harming Councilor Gongloe's chances here, because this man has been on the subject. He has advocated for this.
But that's not what he's saying
He's
now.
about accountability and against impunity, no matter who it affects. So for you to make that suggestion, because
I not made that suggestion yet. I said if I were to.
If you talk about the Holocaust, they are still holding people accountable today. So why would you say that? You are a journalist. You know the records.
I know, but I'm just trying to postulate. What if I were to make that suggestion? What will be Councilor Gongloe's reaction? But to be honest, like I just said to you, Councilor Gongloe does not believe in impunity. And if he decides tomorrow, when he become president, and say, I'm going to do the War Crime Code, it is not going to be Prince Johnson alone. And it is not targeted at Nima people. He is not saying the Nima people are the bad people, therefore let's bring War Crime Code. Or Prince Johnson is the worst person in the world, let's bring War Crime Code. All right. Councilor Gongloe is concerned about dealing with impunity, and that impunity cut across Crown man did something wrong, Bassa man did something wrong, Loma man did something wrong, the Vera tribe did something wrong, and everyone who participated in the mayhem in Liberia, and if they have to answer to the War Crime Code, that will be the direction that Councillor Gongloe is going to take, and it's not what Gibson decides today.
Thank you, and thank you. We will give you 2 minutes for your closing. For your closing, you were supporting President Weah barely a few months or weeks ago, and now you are on the Gongloe train.
Well, you asked me the question because somebody said it.
Why should Liberians? What makes you a better voice for Tiawan Gongloe now?
Oh God!
And, so talk to us and why you think Tiawan Gongloe is better for Liberia compared to Bwaka, who has many years of experience, Cummings, who has corporate experience, and corporate experience is transferable. He came from a successful corporate background. That success is transferable, I would think. You as a journalist, you are a leader as well. Don't tell me the skills you acquire as a leader cannot be transferable at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs.
Why are you carrying me to information?
Right? So talk to me. Why is Tiawan?
Why all of you are taking me to Information Ministry?
Because I suspected that you wanted the administrator to transform it, and the CDC did not give it to you.
Anthony, you are a bad boy.
Go ahead.
I'm going to respond to your question. Okay. Anthony, let me just say this. This is my first time in my life being a journalist since 1988. The first time I ever wrote an article for a newspaper. This is the first time I have openly declared my support and talking the ability of the person to be president of Liberia. I told people a lot of time when CDC was forming in America, when I came to America 2008, there were a lot of seditions, there were a lot of the leadership of the CDC in America that contacted me based on my skills to do some work for them. I did not magazine, but I did some newsletters, I did some flyers, I did so many things for them. In fact, the person that was behind me to join CDC was Piso, the general minister. She had been behind me for as a journalist. I can help to do certain things professionally, but I cannot declare myself as a politician and join any political party. Now, over the years, Anthony, I've appeared on your show many times against certain arguments. And people have the tendency of making reckless statements. For example, what Costa says, he will burn the city, will burn, he will tell his supporters to juke you with night. These things I oppose. And because I opposed them and spoke so forcefully against them, people tend to believe that I was defending the government. I've been telling you about the goodness of Councillor Tiawan Gongloe. I have never told you before the goodness of George Weah. I never enlisted or talk about the development of George Weah or George Weah dream day. He's better than this person, better than this person. I've never done that. But I've gone against people who make bad statements, who took bad decisions, like Cummings, who in the middle of the election, he declared that Talia Ure was president, was a winner already. And I said, that has a bad implication. These people they got followers, and if they make the kind of statement, it has the potential to create chaos. Those are the things I was speaking against. But let me go one more step further. And if you continue to ask me this question, I don't know how many times I would say so, but I know Liberian people, they drove back on Matthew to the grave, telling the Liberian people that he did not say he would sell rest $9, and they never agreed to accept it. I am saying today, if you think that I was a sedition, and I am now supporting Councillor Tiawan Gongloe, there's a saying, assuming, not believing, not agreeing with the person that it is true I'm sedition. It is incumbent upon every reasonable man to make informed decision. I can change, I can support anybody, even Councillor Gongloe today. I can support him, and if I realize later that he is not the person I thought he was, I have the right to say, hey, boy, I was supporting Councillor Gongloe, but I don't think he is the right person, and I think somebody else I believe in. So I have the right to change. They say, Wise man changes. So I am wise if I change. If they believe I'm a sedition and I now support Councillor Gongloe, it means I'm wiser and I'm changing now. So there's no issue about that. In fact, I should be the best person to articulate issues about George Weah if they believe that I was George Weah supporter. Now I don't support George Weah. They mean that something George Weah had done that is not good, for which I no longer support him. So it is a politics in my favor. It is a question in my favor. So when they ask me, "Oh, you are sedition now, you supporting Gongloe," it's a political plus for me that I may have supported George Weah, and because of the blunder he's making, because of the incessant corruption, building 47 10 stories in 6 months of his presidency, people appearing in the street dying, no corporate, nobody to arrest, 4 auditors being killed. Government has nothing to do. Government auditors killed, nobody arrested, nobody prosecuted. A girl died, the Lebanese man running away, government got nothing to arrest the Lebanese man, people appearing in the street there. And if I say I don't support George Weah, and you say, well, why you support him before, you're not supporting now? It is a plus. Let them keep saying it, that I was a sedition and I'm now with Gongloe. It means I'm a wise man, I can change, and everybody should follow me.
And now, why Gongloe is better than the rest?
Gongloe is better in many ways. One. No, everybody know he's educated. I don't want to dwell on that. Everybody know he's educated. Everybody know that he has leadership qualities. When Councillor Gongloe was Solicitor General, he transformed the government prosecution. He refused to prosecute cases that government was overreacting, and he prosecuted cases and won some of these cases. 2, when he became the Minister of Labor, it's Councillor Gongloe who introduced that Liberians were losing jobs, so the aliens who were coming, because there was little amount of money they got to pay for resident permits to be able to work, they were bringing their relatives from Lebanon, from India, and they were taking the job that Liberian needed to do. So he raised the resident permit to $1,000. Today, Liberians are reaping. They are now getting their job. At the same time, government is raising revenue out of that. Number 3, this man is the only cabinet minister in my lifetime that was never forced to resign. And he resigned, and not just resigning quietly, which in Liberia, if you resign the way he resigned publicly because he hated corruption and he didn't like the trajectory of the government. Number 3, the man has never stolen anybody's money. He is clean. As a result, the opposition, which is the ruling government, has nothing to say about him. They can't even mention a name when they're talking. They try to duck him because they don't want to go directly. They have nothing to say about him. The man is clean. He believes in the rule of law. That's why all along, Anthony, this man has defended people who had no ability to defend himself. If you want, ask Akaros Gray. When he went to jail, Councillor Gongloe freed him. Ask Moluba Molu. When he went to jail, Councillor Gongloe freed him. Ask Jefferson Koji. When he went to jail, Councillor Gongloe freed him. Ask Henry Costa. When he went to jail, Councillor Gongloe freed him. Ask Front Page Africa or Ronald Sear. When he went to jail, Councillor Gongloe freed him. Ask T. Majidate. When he was arrested by the government, Councillor Gongloe went there. And so he continued to represent people and put himself between the government and the people. So this is the man who believes in rule of law. If you elect Councillor Gongloe, there will be no flouting of the law. There will be no flouting of the law. There will be respect for rule of law. And trust me, this is something that we have been discussing over and over. The national security will be strengthened. If you kill and you think you will go free, like you kill in George Weah government and nobody get arrested, like 4 auditors, government auditors are killed in a government, and the president does nothing to bring the culprit to justice. If you think that's going to happen in Councillor Gongloe government, then you are up for a rude awakening. This man is impeccable. He has the quality of presidency. He is clean. He has integrity. He is knowledgeable. And look at what he did to the Liberal Bar Association. He entered the Bar Association with nothing, and he left Bar Association with hundreds of dollars in the company account. That is what a man does. When you enter the government, leave something there. Don't take away everything. George Weah is corrupt. Councillor Gongloe is not corrupt. George Weah is inept. Councillor Gongloe is not inept. George Weah is a collaborator of crime, because if people are committing crime and you do nothing, you are encouraging and collaborating with criminals. Councillor Gongloe does not do that. And he will be the best person. He is now a troublist. George Weah is a troublist. Those are things that make Councillor Gongloe different. If Councillor Gongloe goes one-on-one, and certainly believe it today. Today is the 27th of September. If Councillor Gongloe, Tiawan say Gongloe, if he goes one-on-one with George Weah, Anthony, I am going to bring you to the Ministry of Information where you sent me now and introduce you to my office.
Thank you. And thank you. And thanks for always accepting our invitation. We look forward to reaching out to you again as the search for leadership in Liberia continues. Thank you so very much. And folks, this is how we will come to the end of another edition of the Hour of Politics. Tiawan say Gongloe is running for president of the Republic of Liberia. He just got an endorsement from his party and he's talking big talk. Is he ready for prime time? I don't know yet. So folks, Tiawan Gongloe talking big.
A wrong step by a leader is a warning to the followers. Our liberator is here.
They call him their liberator. Is he actually one? Will he even be one for Liberia? This is not the first time we've heard this word liberator. Charles Taylor was one, they said.
They want to go all the way.
They said Tiawan Gongloe all the way. We heard those words before. They told us Ellen Johnson Sirleaf all the way.
Are you Lady Records? Sweet sound.
Another edition of the Hour of Politics here. And this is how I take leave of you. The name is Tiawan Gongloe, running for president of the Republic of Liberia. Is he our guy?
You know why people need my evening, you are there.
And he has a broom and he said he's sweeping corruption. The last time we heard about corruption from his president, this one called Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, she said it was enemy number one. She turned around and said, well, it's a vampire. And she admitted she did not win the war. Tiawan is coming with broom. Is broom strong enough to fight the devil called corruption? And folks, then we heard about another guy called President George Weah. They said he was the country giant, and they had a song that moved on the road. The country giant is coming again. And they too were intentional, according to them, that they were coming to fight corruption. According to the president, corruption was going to be fought to a nail. And he said, wherever corruption was to be discovered, the full weight of the law will take a course. In no time, his somersaults, he could not even declare his asset. Not only that, he said, well, I have my children to protect now. We've heard these things before. Is Tiawan with the broom our guy when it comes to the fight against corruption? Let's listen to that music again. And his supporters say he is the crusader for anti-corruption. He is the guy when it comes to fighting impunity. He is your guy when it comes to accountability. He is your guy when it comes to the rule of law. Is he really? How can we tell? By looking at his track record? Well, some people say Ellen had track record. But there's this thing in Liberia called woe. Do I know you? They always say they want to vote for the person they know. Do they know him? Some voted for Doe because they said they knew him. Doe came to power. We all remember the story. Charles Taylor, some said they knew him, maybe because he had the biggest gun. What happened at the end of the day? We got penalized as a country with economic embargo. War came again, and we paid another price. Ellen came. They said, well, she was the Harvard educator. She had the experience. She was the right person. They said they knew her. Then along line, she couldn't even fight corruption. People are saying, some people say, they know Tiawan Gongloe to be the man of impeccable character who has the balls to fight corruption with a broom. We've seen a broom before. Tipote had one, and he did not succeed. Where Tiawan succeed. But let's get a gist of the song again. On that note, every little good thing must come to an end. And so this year, the hour of politics. Focus on Liberia, where we educate and elevate and promote all things Liberia. The search for Liberia's presidency, or president, I should put it right, continues. Will the country giant be our guy again? Or will it be Waka who gets the last laugh this time? Not forgetting Alice Belinda Cummings Jr., the business guy, who said you cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Is he going to be our guy? Or is it going to be the guy with the broom? His name is Tiawan Gongloe, and he's trying to talk tough. Folks, every good thing must come to an end. And so until I catch you again, you know the name. Anson C.A. Some people call me the troublemaker. I don't know why. Some people call me the political bulldog. That's the name I hate. But hey, Dennis can't stop calling me that name. I'm going to sue him, and I think Tiawan Gongloe going to represent me on this one. So until you hear from me and you see my ugly face again, some people think the face is beautiful. Some ladies, right? Wow. Don't put me in a situation I can't handle. Anthony C is the name, the hour of politics, focus on Liberia again. The song says, we are all Liberians. And you know, that song close is us right now. So, folks, that is all I have for you. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the song. We are all Liberians, and bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.